CR7 is at war with the Saudi Pro League, but is this a valid crash out? Liverpool signed one of Europe's most wanted defenders for £60 million. Mateta's Milan move is cancelled. All that and much more on a crazy deadline day. This is DMAC Daily. Cristiano Ronaldo has caused a major stir in the Saudi Pro League. Al Nassr's latest league match had a notable absentee over the weekend, with the 41-year-old Portuguese captain unavailable. But he wasn't injured, ill, or managing workload. He simply refused to play due to the transfer moves of 3 other clubs in the division. Now you may be wondering, why would Ronaldo boycott a match over another club's transfer business? Well, the answer lies in the Saudi Pro League's unique ownership model. You see, Ronaldo plays for Al Nassr, one of 4 Saudi clubs controlled by the state-backed public investment fund. So the PIF also owns Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, and Al Ahly. Now, whilst this structure was designed to centralize power and accelerate the league's growth, it has inevitably created internal competition for resources, with Ronaldo feeling that Al Nassr are no longer being treated on equal terms. Despite being the league's most marketable asset and its top scorer across recent seasons, Ronaldo is yet to actually win silverware in the Middle East outside of an unofficial Arab Club Champions Cup victory. Yet the other 3 PIF clubs have all won FIFA-accredited tournaments in that same period. The Portuguese star was disappointed that Al Nassr then only made one relatively low-profile signing in January, but the situation then amplified thanks largely to another Ballon d'Or winner, Karim Benzema, who was furious himself at a contract renewal offer from his current club, Al Ittihad. So what does he do? Only goes ahead and moves to Al Hilal, which is confusing to me, as the literal same owners offered him a better contract just at a different team. Weird. Anyways, Al Hilal's January spend amounted to 91 million euros of players, whilst Al Ittihad since added 63 million euros of new talent. Ronaldo sees this whole ordeal as unacceptable. Well, let's look at the numbers and see if he's got a point. Ronaldo's club Al Nassr have spent more money than both Al Ittihad and Al Ahly since he arrived in 2023, although Al Hilal have clearly spent more, 252 mil more to be exact. But there's one distinction to consider here. Ronaldo's wages are beyond astronomical. He earns over 200 million euros per year, 4 times that of the second highest paid player in the Saudi Pro League. So this notion that Ronaldo's Al Nassr are being lowballed at the expense of the other PIF clubs is just categorically false. However, there's now talks about Ronaldo going as far to quit the Saudi Pro League, but I seriously doubt it. The World Cup is 5 months away. The only league that could bring him in is maybe MLS, but that seems beyond incredibly unlikely. Financially, I'd say it's damn near impossible. Also, Al Nassr are merely 1 point off of top spot in the league. This can be resolved internally, surely. Either way, CR7, you need to chill out on the unfair treatment mentality. You are literally earning over 550,000 euros per day on salary alone. Unless you're willing to sacrifice some of that enormous paycheck so that Al Nassr can invest on further players, then respectfully, you don't have a leg to stand on. Staying in transfer news, and Liverpool finally have a new centre-back heading to Anfield, as Jeremy Jacquet has agreed to join the club in a £60 million deal. However, the 20-year-old rising star won't be arriving straight away, instead joining the club from Stade Rennais this summer on a 5-year contract with the option to renew a further year. Now, this is a bit of a surprise to me. Not the actual pursuit itself. Liverpool needed to recruit in this area long term, and Jacquet looks to be one of Ligue 1's finest young talents. But despite signing him, the same problem still exists for Liverpool. They're short of depth heading into the second half of the season. They only have 2 fully fit centre-backs currently available. Joe Gomez is constantly battling to stay healthy, and Giovanni Leone's ACL blow means he's unavailable till the season's end. If Van Dijk or Konate suffer an injury, they're fully cooked. I cannot believe this area wasn't strengthened sooner, especially following Bradley and Frimpong's injuries in January. They tried to bring in Leipzig's Lutzer Elgetruda on loan, but as this player was already on loan at Sunderland, a deal was considered too complex and they didn't go ahead. So it's a huge risk they have taken in not bringing in another defender imminently. However, this Jacquet deal in isolation is still impressive to have pulled off considering the youngster's reputation. The Frenchman was a serious target of both Bayern Munich and Chelsea, Sky Sports reported that the Blues had actually tabled an identical offer to Liverpool, but the Jacket ultimately favoured the Reds after assessing his prospects for regular first-team football. It is important to note Chelsea have 9 centre-backs currently contracted to the club. In terms of Jacquet's profile, he looks a real find. 6'2", he's quick, aggressive, and comfortable defending in a high line. He's also composed in possession, capable of playing progressive passes, while adaptation to the Premier League's physicality will be a test. Liverpool believe his ceiling is extremely high. From one Premier League club to another, and Crystal Palace have had one heck of a deadline day. To be fair, it's been a crazy January period in general. They lost their skipper to City and brought in Brennan Johnson from Spurs, but then another bombshell dropped. Their club talisman Jean-Philippe Mateta wanted out. Aston Villa were keen, and Juventus sent an official bid, but in the end a deal was agreed, and on deadline day Mateta would get his move to Serie A giants AC Milan in a transfer worth more than 30 million euros. All the while, Crystal Palace had secured their replacement, signing Jorgen Strand Larsen from Wolves for a substantial £48 million, plus the loan signing of Evan Gisson. But in a crazy plot twist, Milan then pulled out of the deal to sign the Frenchman, citing a medical issue with his knee. As this deal was then no longer on the table, Palace then had to pull out of a separate transfer for Everton's Dwight McNeil on a loan, with an obligation to buy for £20 million. So a pretty crazy situation for Mateta. He's been angling for that exit for some time. It won't be happening in at least 6 months. Glasner publicly lamented the squad depth previously. Let me tell you now, that forward line is well and truly stacked. 9 separate attacking players in that first team. Granted, spending over £80 million for Johnson and Larsen sounds absurd, but I do think these two will probably perform well at Palace in the years ahead. It's just been a bizarre period for the Eagles all round. Moving to Spain, and Atletico Madrid have completed a triple deal on deadline day. Following a home defeat to Bodo Glimt and then stumbling away in La Liga, it became very clear that this club needed additional quality ASAP. So they first swooped for Atalanta's star winger Ademola Lookman. The 28-year-old's contract was set to expire this summer, but with Fenerbahce chasing, Atletico were willing to offer a seismic €40 million deal to get the 2024 African Player of the Year to Madrid. That left side of their forward line has been noticeably devoid of pace this season, so Lookman definitely is an upgrade, but they weren't done. Shortly after, a deal was struck for Elche's talented midfielder Rodrigo Mendoza for 16 mil. A bit of a different profile than you'd traditionally expect from an Atletico perspective. This is a highly technical player. He's a key member of Spain's U20 team too, perhaps a long-term replacement for club legend Koke. I truly think this is a fantastic signing in isolation, but again, they weren't done, signing MLS prospect Obed Vargas from Seattle Sounders for a little over €3 million. The 20-year-old Mexican international has already amassed 130 senior appearances for Seattle. The all-action central midfielder is now stepping up to the big time though. 2 talented young midfielders brought in with quite different profiles. It hasn't been a great season for Los Colchoneros, but it's clear their owners are ambitious, dropping over €230 million this season on recruits. That being said, they weren't able to get the loan signing of striker Leonardo over the line from Al Hilal. Heading back to the Premier League, and there was a lot of movement via Chelsea Football Club on deadline day. Having missed out on Jeremy Jacquet, they've looked for internal solutions instead. Initially, they brought back Aaron Anselmino from Dortmund, but he will now go back on loan via Strasbourg, with 20-year-old Mamadou Sarr recalled back to Chelsea. The Senegalese youngster actually joined Chelsea from Strasbourg last summer, but was then immediately loaned back to his former club. But now, they're bringing him back mid-season again. Strasbourg fans will no doubt be annoyed. I mean, he was literally captain 2 days ago. But Chelsea are using Anselmino and Datrick Fofana as deal sweeteners for their sister club. Chelsea saw an additional 4 players depart on deadline day. Axel Disasi heads to West Ham on a straight loan. Tyreek George joins Everton on loan with an option to buy. Dujan Richards heads to Leicester on loan. And Ato Ampas signs for Stoke on a permanent deal for £3 million. Now for some quick fire transfer news, because we had so many deals in the last 24 hours, starting with Alan St. Maximin, who just signed for RC Lens as a free agent, having left Club America this past week. Como have their latest young talent secured in Hammarby's is 18-year-old Adrian Lardo for 12 million euros. As mentioned earlier, George Ilanekena and Gustavo Sarr have been brought in to replace Karim Benzema at Al Ittihad for a combined 63 million euros. Emil Holm joins Juventus on loan, a deal that will see Juve's contracted right back Joao Mario head in the opposite direction on loan. N'Golo Kante is headed to Fenerbahce in a 4 million euro deal. German fullback Luca Netz joins Forest from Borussia Mönchengladbach for 2 million euros, while FC Köln bring in Bayern young gun Felipe Chavez on loan with the option to buy. Simon Adingra is headed to Monaco on loan, with Sunderland replacing him with Anderlecht's Nilson Angulo for 20 million euros, taking the newly promoted side's spending spree in 25-26 past 200 million euros. Just crazy work. Meanwhile, Wolves have brought in Angel Gomez from Marseille on loan with a buy option on the table too. It does beg the question, did Wolves sign him purely because of the Gomez last name? Who knows? Meanwhile, Sverre Nepen returns to Man City following his 6-month loan stint at Middlesbrough, with City's forgotten man Calvin Phillips securing a loan switch to Sheffield United. Anyways guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you tomorrow.